Hey, Shalom family. Want to give Kahalal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, all praise to the Most High. We want to do a quick class today discussing Acts 15. Acts 15 is it's pretty controversial when we're looking at it, but we want to clarify the doctrine today because what a lot of Christians, and when I say Christians, I mean those who believe that salvation only comes will also come to the Gentiles and not Israel only. They'll go to this, to this chapter to try and prove that Gentiles can also come into the salvation. That's not the way salvation works, according to the Bible and Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Salvation comes through Israel, and that's how peace will come into the earth. That's how order will be restored to the earth. As you see destruction today, confusion, everything unclean in this world today is due to Israel not being in rulership. There is a God of this world that is being served, and it's not the God of the Bible. And until the people of, or I should say, the elect men of Israel are woken up and being unplugged out of the matrix, we're not going to see that today. So, um, as a matter of fact, real quick, let's go to the scripture just so you can see what I'm talking about. And this is prophecy. And according to the Bible, the spirit of Christ is the spirit of prophecy. So a lot of what what you go into these prophecies, and they will determine the true um, breakdown of the Bible. Let me share my screen right quick. All right, here we go. So this is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 6 and verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning that followeth. So rulership is to come when Jacob is in rulership, and that is the earth and the world to come. When we say world, it is a dominion, it is specific. It doesn't necessarily mean something that just pertains to one group of people or all group of people. This is the world of Jacob, the world of Yasha Allah would be next because today we see Esau ruling. Okay. So let's get into it, family. This is we're gonna go to Acts. Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 15. I'm gonna switch to the Bible Hub because this thing is just way too slow. But let's read Acts 15, right? All right, this is the book of Acts, chapter 15, and verse 1. And it reads, A certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, Except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. So um this is a this is where you want to begin. This is where you want to focus on, right? A lot of people like to misuse the circumcision and not really focus on the manner of Moses. Okay. So what you want to do, you want to focus on what we're looking at here, and that's the manner of Moses. And they say ye cannot be saved. Okay. And this type of, you know, breakdown is extremely easy when we start focusing on this. But check this out. Look at this. Let's go to the Amos. Go to the book of Amos, 3 and verse 7. second, y'all. Yeah, I'm gonna use Bible Hub because it's just it ain't working out with this one here. All right. So this is the book of Amos, chapter 3 and verse 11. Or sorry, excuse me, Salakia, verse 7. Surely the Lord would do nothing but reveal his secret unto his servants, the prophets. So, the Christian pastor is not going to have this breakdown. Okay. He's not going to understand about Acts 15. So if he's telling you that it's about Gentiles, that's not what it's for. And if he's not breaking down what Gentiles is, he doesn't understand that. We're going to deep dive into what Acts 15 is actually saying so we could truly understand. Okay. Let's go back to Acts 15. But before we do, remember. All right. All right. Hold on, y'all. I'm going to open up another window, make it easier. All right. Because we're going to continually go back to Acts 15. All right. Acts 15 and verse 1. And it reads, and certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. Y'all need to focus on the Moses part because you got to ask yourself, was Moses is where circumcised started or was it Abraham? Okay. Let's go to the book of John. Watch this, y'all. Let's go to John 7 and 22. This is the book of John, chapter 7 and verse 22. And it reads, Moses, therefore, this is Yahweh Shai speaking. Moses, therefore, gave you unto you circumcision, not because it is of Moses, but of the fathers. And ye of the Sabbath day circumcise a man. So this is Christ distinguishedly taking away that it belonged to Moses, that it came from the Father. Okay. But remember, in Acts 15, it specifically said, in the manner of Moses. Okay. Here it is again. Except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses. So now let's break down which is which, right? So let's go to the book of Genesis first. Genesis 17. Okay. We're going to read 17. All right. Good morning, Blue. So this is the book of Genesis, chapter 17 and verse 9. And it reads, and God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee, after their generations. This is my covenant which thou shalt keep, me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and ye shall be a token of the covenant that betwixt me and you. Okay, between me and you, this will be a covenant. Okay, verse 12. And he said that he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house or brought with money of any stranger which is in not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house and he that is brought in thy money must needs to be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. Verse 14. And the uncircumcised man, child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Okay. So now we understand what the circumcision, and this was the first circumcision, and now we understand what the circumcision is according to Abraham and according to the Father. Okay. So now let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 12. Okay. Now we have to understand what is the circumcision of Abraham, what is the circumcision of Moses, because that's very important. It specifically says Moses after the manner of Moses. So now we're going to read what is the after the manner of Moses. So this is Leviticus chapter 12 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, okay, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and is born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days according to the days of separation for her infirmities. Shall be unclean. Verse 3. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, and she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 3 and 30 days. Shall touch no hollow thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. Verse 5. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as is her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 60 days. So here is where it gets interesting. Verse 6. Okay. And when the days of your purifying be fulfilled for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb. Look at that. A lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. Okay. Unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation unto the priest. Verse 7. Who shall offer it before the Lord and make an atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from her issue and her blood. This is the law of her that have borne a male or female, and it shall not be able to bring a lamb. So, and if she's not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, and one of the burnt offerings, and the other for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be what? Unclean. So now we have a conundrum here, because we see a difference in the circumcision of Abraham and the circumcision of Moses. There is a sacrifice of the law that needs to happen, okay, in the circumcision of Moses. We see two things here in the circumcision of Moses. We see a burnt offering and we see a sin offering. And it has to be done, and she has to be cleansed, and it has to be sent to the priest. This has to be done. Remember, when we're reading in Acts, the 15th chapter, okay, in during this time, the temple is still there. Okay. People are still sacrificing. Whether you want to say there's Edomites or whatever, the temple is still there. Mm, okay. So having that temple there These are the things that need to be done. So what do you think the Pharisees, the Sadducees are gonna say? You need to go to the temple to be saved. Okay. What but watch this. Look at this. Watch this. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew 12 and verse 6. Yahweh kept telling y'all, man. He kept saying this. They just did not listen. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 6. And it reads, "But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple." Okay. Verse 7. "But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice. Ye will not have condemned the guiltless." So understand that that sacrifice and what they did in Moses was a requirement. However, here comes Christ, and he's telling you right there in their face, there's one that is greater than the temple, and that he is the sacrifice. Okay. But that doesn't mean that they didn't necessarily follow the laws of the Most High, because he was sacrificed, and they also sacrificed when they performed it just like they did in the law of Moses. Let's go to the book of Luke. Book of Luke, chapter 2. Watch this. Because again, he performed it perfectly. So this is Luke. We're going to start at verse 21. Look, Luke 2 and 21. And it reads, "And when 8 days were accomplished for the circumcising of the child, his name was called Yahushai, which was so named the angel before he was conceived in the womb." You see that? And when those days were of her purification, according to the law of Moses, were accomplished, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. So understand that he did follow, he was circumcised, and his parents, Joseph and Mary, also accomplished what was needed. Let's continue reading. Watch this. "As it is written in the law of the Lord, every male shall open up his womb and shall be called holy to the Lord. And to offer a sacrifice according to that which was said in the law, and pair of turtle doves and two pigeons." Okay. So everything that they had to do was already accomplished there. Okay. All right. Let's go to John. John 2 and 29. Watch this. My bad. 2 and 19. So this is the book of John, chapter 2 and verse 19. And it reads, "Yahushua answered and said unto them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." Then said the Jews, 40 and 60 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But he spake of the temple of his body. Okay. Meaning what? That sacrifice, he's going to be that sacrifice that is needed. See, the apostles understood this. The Pharisees, Sadducees, and the priests that they were contending with in Acts 15 did not. Okay. They didn't understand this. So now when they're presenting that Yahweh Shai Mashiach is the sacrifice of Yasha Allah, You know, they're saying, well, no, no, no. Any man who needs to be saved, which is the sin offering, the sacrifice, that needs to go to the temple. You need to be circumcised, and you need to be circumcised in the manner of Moses. Okay. So that was a problem. Okay. Let's go back to Matthew. Watch this. Go back to Matthew. This is easy work, man. This is easy work. All praises to the Most High, right? Um, Matthew 12, and let's go to verse 41. Okay. Matthew 12 and verse 41, and it reads, the men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation, okay, and shall condemn it because they repented at the preaching of Jonas. And behold, a greater than Jonas is here. The queen of the south shall raise up in the judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, for she came from the utmost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, a greater than Solomon is here. So he's telling you right here, there's one greater than the temple, and there's one greater than the king. But the repentance always needs to come through him. He is the reason why we can come to the Father. You cannot come to the Father but through him. He's the door, right? So that sacrifice needs to come through him. Okay? Let's go to Colossians. All right, I'm skimming through some of these so y'all can get the gist of it. Colossians 2 and verse 9. Okay? Look at this. Colossians 2 and verse 9 is, for in him dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. So now understand, nothing can be done. You can't come through the Father unless through him. All authority was given unto him. Let's continue reading. And ye shall compete in him, which is the head of all partiality and power, in whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, in putting off the bodily of sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ. You see that? That's why those turtle doves are not needed. That's why the lamb is not needed. That's why the um the actual sin sacrifice is not needed. The offering is not needed. He accomplished that. That's why we're so adamant, and we proclaim that we are in the new covenant, because we can proclaim those things and say that, yeah, right now our sacrifice is us, and the only way it became us is because Yahweh Shai did what he had to do. Okay, so we can't have a presented and accepted sacrifice without him. Okay, right? Let's go back to Acts. We haven't even left the first. We haven't even left the first chapter, the first verse of Acts 15. Good Lord. All right, so Acts 15 and verse 1, a certain man which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. Understand that there's a difference between the Abraham circumcision and the Moses circumcision, okay? Verse 2, and therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dispensation and disputation with them. They determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain of other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and the elders about this question. And being brought on the way by the church, they passed through and Phoenice and Samaria, declaring the conversation of the Gentiles, and that caused great joy unto the brethren. So now understand that in Samaria, right, where the Gentiles, and let's get that real quick. Let's go to Matthew. Let's go to Matthew chapter 4. Watch this. Which Gentiles are they talking about here? So this is the book of Matthew chapter 4 and verse 15. Remember, this is Samaria, the land of Zebulun and the land of Nephthalim, by the way of the sea beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. These are northern kingdom, okay, provinces or cities, and they're calling them Gentiles. So when it said Samaria in Acts 15, you got to understand that's northern kingdom territory. Okay? Watch this. Go to Hosea. Hosea 8 and 8. Okay? This is the book of Hosea, chapter 8 and verse 8. And it reads, Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. You see that? So we understand that Israel, and this specifically talking about the northern kingdom, how you know? Look at the very next verse. For they are gone up to Assyria, and a wild ass alone by himself, Ephraim, hath hired lovers. Talking about our mixing and mingling, our culture and our seed in Assyria. Understand, we were in Assyria for almost 400 years. Watch this. Because Ephraim hath made many altars to sin, altars shall be unto him to sin. We perverted the law of God. Okay, understand that. So when it's talking about us, the Gentiles, who you think they're talking about in Acts 15? Watch this. Let's go to Micah. Right, Micah 5 and verse 8, and it reads, "And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of the sheep, who, if he go through, both treadeth down and treadeth in pieces, and none can deliver." So understand, I mean, this whole thing about us not being the Gentiles in Acts 15 is a lie. It ain't that deep, man. This ain't that deep, man. You know. So I'm gonna do another one here. Let's go down. Where am I? Am I still in Acts 15? No, I'm on Micah. All right, we're gonna. I'm on Micah. I should share this tab instead. Okay. So watch this. Look at this. This is the conclusion. Okay. This is the conclusion of what they came up with in a discussion. But watch this. Before the conclusion, the start of verse 14, and Simeon declared how God at the first visited the Gentiles to take out them a people for his name. So now you cannot say that these are natural Gentiles, because in the beginning it was where they were going. It literally told you Samaria in the ways of the Gentiles. So according to prophecy, we would be picked up by among the Gentiles. Israel shall be, and that's in prophecy. You can't get around that, right? And then here, verse 15 says, and to this agree the words of the prophets as it is written. And then here's a more, okay, actual, even more, uh, um, uh, or solidifies this even more. After this, I will return and I will build again the tabernacle of David. Hold on. Wasn't wasn't that supposed to be the tabernacle of David? Isn't that a Israelite king, right? Which was fallen down, and I will build it up again, the ruins thereof. Let's go to Second Samuel. Second Samuel 5 and verse 1. Lord have mercy. My computer is slow. I gotta upgrade, y'all. I need to upgrade. Shalom, King. Let's see. Man, this new view is like weird in Yard Stream now. I can hardly see y'all comments. Shalom, King. All praise to the Most High. Hey, Shalom, Elder. All praise to the Most High. What in the hell? I can't see y'all comments. Anyways, so watch this. This is Second Samuel chapter 5 and verse 1. Then came all the tribes of Israel to David unto Jeroboam and spake, saying, Behold, here are thy bone and thy flesh. Also, also in the times past, when Samuel was king over us, thou wast he that ladest out and brought us into Israel. And the Lord said unto thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be captain over Israel. Verse 3. So all the elders of Israel came to the king of Jeroboam and to the king David and made a league with them in Jeroboam before the Lord, and they anointed King uh, David king over Israel. Come on, man. Come on, man. Watch this, Jeremiah. Jeremiah verse 30. We can do this all day. Jeremiah 30 and verse 18. Okay. Remember in Acts 15, it says, as in the time of David to rebuild the temple again. And who's gonna sit on that seat? It's gonna be Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is gonna sit on that seat. Okay. All right, verse 18. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tent and have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city shall be builded up her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. You see that? As it as and in Acts 15, it's reiterating that as it is written in the prophets. Where do you see other nations inside this temple? Where do you see other nations' kingdom in the time of God being placed with Israel? You don't. Okay. So, man, I'm gonna end it on that. All right. Want to say Kahalal Yahweh, Ba'Shem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. All right. So, we know Cap, Nations of Kings and Priests wanted to do a quick lesson on this, man. I mean, again, it ain't that deep, man. It is not that deep. According to Acts 15, it's only speaking about Gentile Israelites, man. So they can come back into the fold, okay, of where they belong. All right. Shalom, Israel.